Marvel may have already spoiled the biggest surprise in Avengers, Doomsday, and almost nobody noticed. Everyone is focused on Doctor Doom, everyone is talking about Robert Downey Jr., but the character who might secretly be controlling everything isn't Doom at all, it's Loki. The god of stories may already know exactly how this war begins, how it ends, and who has to be sacrificed before it's over. And if that's true, then the very first scenes of Doomsday could completely change everything we thought we knew about the multiverse saga. Before we jump in, Marvel fans are eating good right now. With only a few days left before the movie, Sony has practically been dropping new TV spots every single day. At the same time, Comic-Con is expected to reveal major updates about Doomsday and several upcoming Marvel projects. There's also a strong chance we finally get our first real look at the Vision series. So the next few days could completely reshape everything we know, but today we're focusing on two clues that might be connected: Doctor Doom's mysterious mask and Loki. Let's start with Loki. Right now, Loki isn't just another hero. He's the god of stories. He's literally sitting at the center of the multiverse, holding together every timeline that still exists. That means if anyone knows which universes are about to collide, if anyone knows where Incursions begin, if anyone knows Doctor Doom is coming, it's Loki. Nobody has a better view of the multiverse than he does, which is exactly why one scene from the trailer feels so important. There's a mysterious sequence where it looks like someone connected to the TVA is meeting Steve Rogers. Marvel never clearly says it's Loki, but there are small visual details that make the theory surprisingly believable. The TVA-style look, the symbolism, even the way the scene is framed. It feels less like a random meeting and more like someone arriving with a mission. Now here's where things get interesting. The trailer also seems to show Steve Rogers aboard the Fantastic Four's ship. If that's actually happening, then Steve probably isn't in his own universe anymore. He's somehow crossed into the Fantastic Four's reality. But why? Why wouldn't Loki simply leave him in his original timeline? Because Marvel has already shown us what happens when timelines are disturbed. Removing important people or objects can eventually destabilize an entire universe. We've seen similar concepts before with the Infinity Stones, and Marvel has continued expanding that idea across the multiverse saga. Every timeline has to remain balanced. So instead of allowing Steve's presence to create a dangerous paradox, Loki may have quietly relocated him to another universe where his existence wouldn't immediately threaten reality. That could explain why Steve suddenly appears somewhere he shouldn't even be. And honestly, if Loki is the one behind this, it makes perfect sense. Think about it. Out of everyone in the MCU, Loki has always had a strange respect for Steve Rogers. Thor admired Steve. Loki constantly acknowledged him. Even though Steve was just a human, he carried himself like someone worthy of leading gods. So if Loki needed someone to unite Earth's heroes against Doctor Doom, Steve Rogers would be the obvious choice. Not because he's the strongest, but because everyone trusts him. That could also explain why Loki seemingly hands Steve an official-looking ID card, and eagle-eyed fans notice something fascinating. On the back of that card appears to be the World Tree. If that's true, then this scene almost certainly takes place after Loki Season 2, when Loki became the god of stories. Meaning this isn't an older version of Loki, this is the most powerful Loki we've ever seen. Now here's the part that makes this theory even crazier. Does Loki actually need to leave the end of time and physically meet Steve Rogers? Probably not. At this point, Loki's powers are on an entirely different level. He's capable of creating incredibly realistic projections and illusions. So the person Steve meets may not even be Loki's real body. It could simply be a projection carrying out his mission while the real Loki continues holding the multiverse together. That would explain why Loki can still guide events without ever abandoning his throne. So what would Loki even say to Steve? Probably something like this: "The multiverse is collapsing, incursions have already begun. I can't stop this alone. I need someone to unite the heroes before Doom does. And honestly, there isn't a better leader than Steve Rogers. He's the one person almost every hero would follow without hesitation." Which means Loki may not just be recruiting Steve, he could be asking him to build the next generation of Avengers. But here's the obvious question. If Loki already knows Doctor Doom is coming, why doesn't he just confront Doom himself? Why not warn him before everything falls apart? That's where another dark theory comes in. What if Doom eventually gains control over one of Loki's own variants, or even worse? What if Doom somehow steals the power of the god of stories? Comic readers know Doom has always been obsessed with absolute power. If anyone could find a way to weaponize the multiverse itself, it's Victor Von Doom. So maybe Loki isn't ignoring Doom. Maybe he already knows he's destined to lose that fight, which is exactly why he's preparing everyone else instead. Another trailer moment supports this idea. There's a sequence where the Fantastic Four appear to be explaining the Incursion crisis. At first glance, it looks like a normal briefing, but if you pay close attention, the camera framing feels unusual. It's almost like someone else is standing in the room watching the conversation unfold from their own point of view. Then the very next shot shows Sam Wilson, Bucky Barnes, Ant-Man, and several other heroes all looking towards someone standing off screen. Most people assumed they were looking at Thor. Others thought it was simply another Avenger, but look closely at the silhouette and hairstyle. There's a real possibility they're actually looking at Steve Rogers. Now imagine how powerful that reveal would be. Steve walks back into the room after everyone believed his story was over, not because he accidentally returned, but because Loki personally brought him back. And suddenly, the one man capable of leading Earth's heroes is standing in front of them again. But there's another twist Marvel could pull. What if that isn't Steve Rogers at all? Remember who we're talking about. This is Loki, the god of stories, the same trickster who spent years disguising himself as other people. We've literally watched him impersonate Captain America before. So even if we think we're looking at Steve, Marvel could reveal later that it was Loki the entire time, not to deceive the heroes, but to unite them, because sometimes people don't follow a message, they follow the person delivering it, and no symbol inspires hope across the MCU more than Captain America. If this theory is true, then Loki isn't becoming another villain. He's becoming the architect of the Resistance, the one secretly putting every piece on the board before Dr. Doom makes his first move. And honestly, that sounds exactly like something the god of stories would do. But Loki isn't the only mystery hidden inside this trailer. The second clue might be even bigger. Dr. Doom's mask. Because Marvel may have quietly teased an entirely new faction before the movie even releases. Recently, Marvel officially revealed artwork featuring a character called the Latverian Witch. Not Dr. Doom, not Scarlet Witch, just the Latverian Witch, and that's exactly why fans immediately started building theories. Marvel intentionally avoided showing Doom's full armor, yet they had no problem teasing this mysterious character. That feels deliberate. Now here's where things get interesting. The word witch instantly makes fans think of Wanda Maximoff. After all, Scarlet Witch is one of the most powerful magic users in Marvel. So naturally, many people started asking, could this actually be a variant of Wanda? Right now it's only a theory, but there are reasons people believe it. Marvel is reportedly pulling inspiration from the Children's Crusade storyline. If that happens, we'd expect to see several younger heroes appearing throughout the film. Characters like Love, Cassie Lang, Billy, Tommy, and other next-generation heroes could all become important pieces of the story. If Marvel is heading in that direction, bringing a Wanda variant back into the multiverse suddenly becomes much more believable, especially since the MCU never completely closed the door on Wanda's future. There's another detail fans noticed. In the comics, Dr. Doom and Wanda share major connections during certain storylines, so if this mysterious character really is tied to Doom, it's easy to understand why so many people jump to that conclusion. But personally, I think there's another explanation that's even more interesting. Look closely at the mask. It doesn't actually match Dr. Doom's mask from the trailer. Doom's helmet has visible battle damage, scratches, and sharp metallic details. The Latverian Witch mask looks much smoother, cleaner, almost ceremonial. Completely different design language. That tells me this probably isn't Doom wearing another costume, it's someone else entirely. And here's the theory. What if Latverian Witch isn't one person? What if it's an entire order? Think about Latveria. Magic has always been deeply connected to its history. Even Doom's own mother, Cynthia Von Doom, was a powerful sorceress whose story shaped Victor's entire life. So instead of introducing Doom's comic version of the Black Swans exactly as they appeared on the page, Marvel could replace that role with an elite group of Latverian witches serving directly under Doom. That would accomplish the same narrative purpose while fitting the MCU much better. Instead of armies of robotic Doombots handling every mission, imagine Doom commanding an army of highly trained magical followers, each one operating across different universes, each one carrying out his orders throughout the multiverse. Honestly, that feels like something MCU Doom would absolutely do. It also explains why Marvel introduced the name Latverian Witch instead of revealing Doom himself, because the real surprise may not be one character, it may be an entire organization working in the shadows. There's also another rumor floating around. Some fans believe this mysterious witch could actually be Sylvie, or at least another Loki variant working under Dr. Doom. Is there evidence? Not really, but in a multiverse story, almost anything is possible. If Doom truly begins collecting powerful variants from different realities, Loki variants would be incredibly valuable assets, especially if his ultimate goal is controlling the multiverse itself. And honestly, that possibility makes Doom even more terrifying, because he wouldn't just be building an army, he'd be building one from the most dangerous variants across existence. But there's one theory that's even crazier. What if the Latverian Witch isn't connected to Wanda? What if she's actually connected to Tony Stark? It sounds unbelievable at first, but hear me out. Some fans believe the mysterious woman could actually have the face of a Pepper Potts variant from Doom's universe. Imagine this. In another reality, Victor Von Doom and this variant of Pepper were married. Then something tragic happened. She died. That loss became the reason Doom transformed into the ruthless ruler we eventually meet. It would also explain why Doom's design and this mysterious witch seem visually connected. Instead of copying comic book lore exactly, Marvel could give Doom a deeply personal motivation tied to someone he loved. Is there proof? No. But as far as multiverse theories go, it's definitely one of the most fascinating ones. Now let's connect everything. If Loki already knows every timeline, if Steve Rogers is secretly being recruited, if Doom is building an army across the multiverse, then none of these events are random. They're all pieces of the same war. And here's the biggest question. What if Loki doesn't accidentally allow the incursions to happen? What if he intentionally lets them begin? Think about it. Marvel has repeatedly shown that sometimes saving the multiverse requires sacrificing a universe. Maybe Loki realizes there's no perfect solution anymore. Maybe the only way to stop total annihilation is to let a few worlds collide so one final battle can decide the fate of everything. That would completely redefine Loki's role, not as the villain, not even as the hero, but as the person forced to make the impossible choice. There's another detail most people overlook. Right now, 3 different realities seem to be connected: the Avengers universe, the Fantastic Four universe, and the X-Men universe. Each connection already has a bridge. Steve Rogers appears to connect the Avengers and Fantastic Four. Monica Rambeau connects the Avengers and the X-Men after the events of the Marvels, which is exactly why the Marvels might end up being one of the most important movies to watch before Avengers: Doomsday. The film quietly sets up a major multiversal connection that could become critical once these worlds finally collide. And if those universes are all heading toward the same collision, then Dr. Doom isn't just threatening one Earth, he's threatening every reality at once. Now imagine how this ends. Doom wins, the multiverse collapses, entire universes disappear, heroes are separated, reality itself breaks apart, and that's exactly where Secret Wars begins. Not with victory, with complete defeat. Then from the ruins of the multiverse, a brand new Avengers team rises, possibly led by Steve Rogers himself, to fight one final war for every universe still left standing. If Marvel follows that direction, everything happening in Doomsday becomes set up for something even bigger, so now it's your turn. Do you think the mysterious Captain America scene is actually Steve Rogers, or is Loki playing one last trick? And who do you believe the Latverian Witch really is? A Wanda variant, Sylvie, Pepper Potts, or someone completely new? Drop your theory in the comments, because if even half of these clues turn out to be true, Avengers: Doomsday could completely change the MCU forever.